It's very unfortunate that there's so much of doubt being sown by the president's side, mainly about the results of the election. Very destabilizing when they asked him, would you accept the results of the election? And he says, well, I don't know. I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. That was his response. And that has never been said by any candidate for office, presidential office before. It throws doubt in the whole system. And yet there shouldn't be doubt because mail-in ballots have been used in several states very successfully for 10 years or more. And there's something like a 0.027 rate of any kind of malfeasance with mail-in ballots. Very, very, very tiny. And it hasn't affected any elections. So this is a red herring being raised by the president's side to make it look like there will be a bad election result. And I think he's concerned he might lose. And there's that problem of the votes coming in, the regular precinct votes coming in early, and then looking like Trump's ahead, and then Mr. Biden will go ahead a day or two after as they're counting the mail-in ballots. It's very destabilizing, the whole thing, and I think people should be very aware that we should just go with the results that come in and wait for the results. We don't have to have it the same night.
Well, it's not his decision to make, is it? This is a world of so much spin, of so much PR. The world, it's such a changed environment, and we've never seen an election conducted like this before either.
Never, never, ever in this country's history, in the modern history especially, but in the history of the United States, it's never been conducted. Every presidential candidate has accepted the loss when they did not win enough votes or electoral college votes. So this president should follow suit and be in the same vein, but he's not. He's way outside the norm, and it's very destabilizing, and I think people should be aware and be ready to go out and vote either by mail or in person, or drop their mail-in ballots off at the polling places to ensure it gets there. And that way, American democracy can be protected. It could end up in a constitutional crisis otherwise, which would be very dangerous for the country.
So the bottom line is, it's not like if Donald Trump loses this election, he's going to be taken out kicking and screaming, because there's things in place, and we've seen other Republicans come out and say, well, no, this will be a proper transition.
Yes, and many Republicans have actually come out and guaranteed there will be a proper transition, very well, big-name Republicans. And many of them, and some of those Republicans actually have endorsed Joe Biden. They've said they're not supporting Trump because of his malfeasance in terms of delegitimizing the election. So people like, for example, Cindy McCain, the wife of Senator John McCain, Governor Christie Whitman of New Jersey, former governor, the former governor of Ohio, John Kasich. These are big-name Republicans who said they're not supporting Mr. Trump because of how he's not taking this seriously. He's trying to delegitimize the system in the election. They're supporting Mr. Biden. So yes, that's true that big-name Republicans said this is going to go through. We're going to have a transition, a peaceful transition as always, and that helps a lot to have them also taking that position, not just Democrats.
We're only 5 weeks away, Professor. How are the weeks ahead shaping up?
Very interesting. If you look at the polling, the 3 key swing states that Trump won with only less than 100,000 votes, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, those states, Joe Biden is ahead by several points. He's ahead by 6 or 7 points in some of those states, and 4 or 5 points in others. And even states that were really traditional Republican states like Arizona, Joe Biden is ahead by a few percent there to Trump. But Trump is ahead in a couple of other close states, like Texas, by just a fraction of a percent of the vote. So this is looking very good for Biden, but you never know who's going to show up and vote on election day or who's going to send in mail-in ballots. It all depends on the voter turnout as to whether Biden can actually pull this off or whether Mr. Trump will have another 4 years.
It's an important thing to articulate, because voting in Australia is compulsory. It is not compulsory in the US. President Trump has taken a swipe at Meghan Markle after the Duke and Duchess of Sussex urged Americans to vote.
Yes, she did. And amazing. I think she did that for many years now. She's worked with Michelle Obama on getting out the vote and getting people to register. And Mr. Trump has gone after her because he doesn't want more people to vote, especially people who could be progressive and might vote for the Biden-Harris ticket. And he even called her a nasty person, and she called him a misogynist a couple of years ago. So there's been this bad, relationship with it. Mostly Mr. Trump trying to put down the Duchess and say that she has no right to speak out. But that's not true. We as Americans, and she's an American, have every right to speak out and urge people to vote. And she could even urge people to vote that she wants to vote. But she just said, in general, people should take this very seriously. Many people have died in America for the right to vote and given their lives, and we have to vote this time. And it's the most critical election of modern times, she said. And therefore, we have to vote our values. She put it that way. And some people say that's an implication that, she's urging people to vote for change. But we'll have to wait and see.
a big part of the rhetoric this week has been that over 100 million vaccines will be produced by the end of the year. By April, every American will have it. What is your view of the COVID situation in the US at the minute?
I mean, there are some phase 3 trials going on right now with a couple of the pharmaceutical companies, and they're looking pretty promising. But it's a lot of vaccines that are needed. I mean, you're looking at hundreds of millions that are needed. And to get them by April to every single American will be a big challenge. I was going to say perhaps the middle of next summer, but the president is pushing very hard to get it out there. He wants to actually get it done by November so he can have the vaccine as a political ploy to be able to get more votes to say, look, I accomplished this. Operation Warp Speed, as he called it. So this is a very dangerous situation to push the research too fast, the testing too fast. It has to be done very carefully, in a very measured manner, and I think the U.S. government scientists are saying, Mr. Trump, be careful about pushing it too fast. And so I don't know when it's exactly going to be ready. No one really knows, but it's probably at least April or so of next year, or just beyond that, actually.
Just finally, is this the most, just on a personal level, is this the most unsettled time you can remember?
It really is, Tim, and I've been around for quite a few decades now, and I don't remember any other time in America that was this unsettled and unpredictable and danger-laden. Even when I was in college in the 1970s during the Vietnam era, and many of us took part in trying to bring an end to that war that was not just in our view, we didn't have this kind of feeling that the entire system could crumble and that we could be at the precipice of a civil conflict because of this polarization that's mostly been caused by the president, in my view, and his minions who really want to win at all costs. We haven't had this type of possible constitutional crisis ever, even with Richard Nixon and Watergate. Nixon was willing to go ahead and resign when he saw the writing on the wall. Every president has been able to comply with the law in that sense. This is the only one that is challenging it, and it's very unsettling. It really is.
Professor Peter Mathews from Cypress College in the US. We no doubt will talk very, very soon. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you. You too, Tim.